Hey everyone, Pherix here with my first YouTube video. In this video we're going to be going over my patch 8.3 Fire Mage PvP guide. A lot of you guys have been requesting it, and so here it is. Let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to want to talk about, and this goes for any class and any character, is our Azerite essences. They're very important, especially to Fire Mage and PvP, as there are multiple different ways you could play Fire Mage and multiple different ways you can use these essences to your favor. Currently, right now, I'm rocking Memory of Lucid Dreams as my major. Now, typically, what you can do with Memory of Lucid Dreams is pair that with Mechagon Bracers to have a giant 2-minute big cooldown combust for a lot of damage. However, there are multiple different ways you can actually play this spec of Fire Mage. You can play either Memory of Lucid Dreams Major for the 2-minute big combust. You can play Breath of the Dying for a 45-second Reaping Flames, and you could potentially play Short Combust and have a slightly quicker combust, but it does less damage. Or you could play Conflict Major to have a lot more versatility to be able to live longer in your arena matches. You could also be playing Crucible of Flame for that other 30-second cooldown, big ball of flame, big damage, still pretty quick paced gameplay. That's it for the majors. I recommend one of those four almost at all times. I don't really see anything else being that great in PvP right now. Next up for your minors, you're pretty much always going to want Breath of the Dying, whether you have it in the major or the minor. The minor is absolutely insane, especially at rank 3, giving you that extra 400% increased chance to deal damage. You also are getting the 10 corruption resistance, which I think is very needed right now, especially if you're trying to play high corruption levels. Also, you need to have Conflict and Strife. It's too good to not have if you need to have it in either the minor or major spot. Preferably, I have it in the minor right now. The minor just, again, too good to not have. And then for your third one, it really doesn't matter. Currently, I'm playing Crucible of Flame, but you can really swap it out for whatever you'd like. Whether, you could have Essence, Focusing Iris, Spark of Inspiration, Vision of Perfection, whatever if you're playing Short Combust. But right now, I just have it on Crucible. It really depends on your build, your playstyle, and what you are doing as a player. Now that we've talked about essences, we can go over our Azerite traits, which are also very, very important for Fire Mage. So currently, right now, I think the best combination of Azerite essences, you're going to want 3 Blaster Masters. This is going to increase your mastery by around 390 per piece at BIS 480 eye level gear. Alright? And they stack, so you can get 3 Blaster Masters on all 3 pieces of your gear, and they will stack together. That will give you huge amounts of mastery if you Fire Blast 3 times. If we go over here to the dummy and we look at our mastery right now, sitting at 12%, Fire Blasting only 3 times gets us up to 48%, which is a huge Ignite dot right there. And you can see even on the damage meter, it almost doubled. It's doing so much more damage with the Blaster Master. I think that trait is very good, very needed, and there's not really much that outclasses it. Next up for your secondary, I think you should get 1 Wildfire. The reason you only want 1 is because they actually do not stack other than the Pyroblast dealing additional damage piece. So what you can do is get 1 Wildfire. It'll give you a lot more crit. It'll give your allies crit. That does not stack. You're only going to want 1 of those. The Pyroblast additional damage isn't really there. You want it for the crit. And then finally, you want to get the other ones. If you can get them, Fire Mind. I know I have 2 Wildfires right now. Not super ideal. But like in BIS scenario, you're going to want 2 Fire Minds, because those also stack. You can consume your hot streak to get 229 intellect roughly, and they do stack on your pieces if you have 2 of them. Next up, for your third trait, you're going to always want to try to obtain Overwhelming Power. That is the best one you can get, and they do stack as well. If you can try to get 3 of those, that would be great. Other than that, if there is no Overwhelming Power, a secondary would be Elemental Whirl. It isn't terrible. However, like we said, we benefit a lot from haste and versatility as Fire Mage right now. So you really want to try and get that Overwhelming Power, because they do stack and they will all proc at the same exact time, leading to very quick casts and your globals being reduced. Finally, for the fourth and defensive trait, everything is pretty much nerfed by 75% in the PvP scenario, whatever you're really doing. This doesn't typically matter. This is pretty much preference. Right now I have Resounding Protection, Eldritch Warding, and Longstrider. Like I said, it really doesn't matter due to everything being pretty much nerfed. So you don't really have to worry about those. Pick what you can. Pick what you think is best. I'm not gonna really go over what I think is like personally best because they don't matter too much. And next up, we're gonna go ahead and go into our gear, our stat priority, and how that all breaks down. So first off, for Azerite, you want to try and obtain definitely the petticoat of self-stylized Azerite Baron. This is the BIS piece that has Fire Mine, Blaster Master, and Overwhelming Power. Very great piece. You want to try and get it if you can. The Heroic Shoulders off of Carapace is also really good too because they do provide an eye level increase. They have Wildfire, Blaster Master, and Overwhelming Power, which is super good. And then you could also get the Crown, the Grasping Crown of the Deep. This spec right here does give you 2 Wildfires, but that's not a huge deal. Having 2 Wildfires over 2 Fire Mines doesn't really matter that much in the long run. You can't change your neck, and you can't change your cape. However, I do think if you can get your cape as high as you can, that is super beneficial, especially getting that rank 12 intellect proc. Due to the fact that that proc is absolutely huge and it's actually bigger than a good portion of unused trinkets. If you could get that proc to happen during your combust window, you could be dishing out some huge damage. Next up, we're going to be looking at our wrists here. Now, these are also really preference, and it depends on how you're playing. If you're trying to play the 2-minute Lucid Dream Big Combust, I recommend you play Hyperthread Wrist Wraps. These can be dropped off of Mechagon Workshop, and basically you're using them for the on-use ability, which reduces the remaining cooldown of your 3 most recently cast spells by 5 seconds. As we see on the dummy here, we can combo that with Lucid Dreams. If you press Lucid Dreams with Combust, you can Fire Blast twice, and then Pyroblast, you can Fire Blast again and hit your Mechagon Hyperthread Wrist Wraps to get a full set of charges back again on that Combust. That is what makes the combo so deadly, and you can actually dish out so much damage there. If you've ever played Fire Mage in PvP or a PvP aspect, you would know you can get so much damage from the Hyperthread Wrist Wraps and that Lucid Dream combo. So they're doing huge amounts of damage there. Now for the rest of your gear, excluding your trinkets, you're pretty much going to want to get what can get you the most haste and versatility you can. The soft tap for haste is 31%, so you never want to be over 31% haste, or you will start getting less haste per each piece you get, and each stat priority you get, or each stat you get. So if you can be below 31% haste and above 25, that is ideal. And then basically what I say is try to get that and then put the rest in the versatility. You want to get as much versatility as you can because Fire Mage does die, and if they go you will eventually die. Right now I'm sitting at 18%. However, with different builds that I have, I can get up to about 23% baseline versatility and get a little tankier there. But having around 25% haste or higher will make your cast go a lot quicker. Anything lower will definitely be a detriment to your cast time. You want to make sure your poly is above 1.5 seconds. Like, that is pretty ideal in your GPI. If you could get it to around 3.5, that would be really good. Mine's at 3.6 right now, unfortunately. But 3.5, 3.6, roughly an okay number for that there. So, it doesn't really matter what pieces you get. If you're using tailoring, you can actually tailor your gloves and your legs to get your haste versatility. They come with sockets. Sockets are also really important. If you can't get sockets, you can always focus on getting them doing your visions and be able to socket your gear with either haste or versatility. No need for a real intellect gem. The secondary stats are much better. It's also a nice BOE if you have a good amount of gold. If you check the auction house, you look for leg wraps of the horrifying figments. Typically, they might come with a corruption and a socket. They're haste versatility stacked, and they're an insane piece. And if you have the gold to pick them up, I highly recommend you do. Other than that, typical, like I said, get your haste versatility gear as much as you can. Pretty much all my gear right now is setting haste versatility, except for my Mechagon wrist wraps because Mechagon wrist wraps don't actually contain secondary stats. But other than that, haste versatility as much as you can get. We'll go over your enchant real quick, and your ring enchants as well. Pretty much you're going to want to ring enchant to whatever you need, and same thing with gems too. Gem and ring enchant to whatever you really need. If you need more versatility, you can enchant in verse. If you need more haste, enchant in haste. For your weapon enchant, I would say either go with quick navigation or torrent of the elements. Now, Torrent of the Elements I think is really good because you're getting that 10% increased damage on all fire. However, I've been playing Quick Navigation lately because I've been playing in my 3v3 arena, Mage Lock Druid, and I've been trying to get out a lot of Greater Pyroblast, which we'll talk about later on. And I think Greater Pyroblast is an insane ability, and the more haste you have, the quicker it will cast. Therefore, meaning I'm running Quick Navigation to get those haste procs, to get those Greater Pyroblasts out quicker and provide more pressure. However, typically most people play with Torrent of the Elements. I do too sometimes. It really depends on what I want to enchant. I don't have too much gold to keep enchanting back and forth, so I just pretty much stay at Quick Navigation, but you can either go Torrent of the Elements or Quick Navigation. Definitely preference there. For trinkets, I think this one is pretty up in the air. However, my personal opinion is you're going to need one on use, whatever it is, and then one defensive trinket. Now, with the new addition of all these raid trinkets doing huge amounts of damage and just a lot of more damage being added onto the board with corruptions and things, I definitely think that Fire Mage can die relatively easily, and having access to a good defensive trinket when you need it is very key. Personally, right now, I'm using a Notorious Gladiator emblem. It is a little outdated, only 445 eye level, however, it does have a socket. The emblem allows me to get about 113k extra health for 20 seconds every minute 30. I'd recommend using one of these trinkets or potentially a safeguard, one of the two, because you never know if you're caught in a kidney, you're caught and you're taking a lot of damage, you don't have cauterize, you don't have ice block, you don't have something available, you could potentially pop one of these or have a safeguard proc and it could save your life right then and there, which I think is absolutely insane. Double on use right now I don't think is quite that good, unfortunately. However, if you need to use it, you can. I also think, and for the on use here, personally right now I'm rocking the Voodoo Doll from a Underrot. However, you could be playing Obsidian Claw or you could be playing a badge. This one's definitely preference and depends on what you want to play, really. So I'm not going to say it there, but I definitely think my top three would be Obsidian Claw, Voodoo Doll, and a badge, if you can get one of them. Those are all really good, and it kind of depends on your playstyle, how you want to play it, potentially. And yeah, that's pretty much it for trinkets there. Alright, so now that we've went over our gear, our stat priority, our trinkets, I can talk about a little bit about corruption, the system, and everything. So there's still definitely a lot of theory crafting going around regarding corruptions and what is what is the best corruption you can get? Is it Void Ritual? Is it a haste proc? Haste gain, Mind Flay, haste. There are tons of different things you can get in corruption wise to really change your gameplay. And they do. They change it a lot. However, there are some people that argue, the stat ones are better than the damage ones. I'm going to go ahead and give you my breakdown of what I think is BIS and very good for Fire Mage, at least the way I play it. You guys can always think different. It's up to you, however, to decide. And it also comes down to RNG if you're actually going to get that piece or not. But basically, what I'm saying right now is if you can get anything with a haste proc or a versatility proc or a stat haste gain or a versatility gain, I think those are better than anything right now. Because of the fact, if you have tendies, they do good damage, but they can be killed relatively easily. Infinite stars, you're never going to get more than face value, typically, unless you're playing twos or something with no healer, because healers can dispel it very, very easily. They click one button, dispel, and infinite star debuff is actually gone. So you might get a stack, you might get two, you might get lucky, maybe even three, but I don't think Infinite Stars is worth running that much corruption for it to barely proc, and then it gets cleansed, gets debuffed, and then you're back at face value, 28k, whatever. Personally, I don't think those are that great. What I do think is really good right now are these taking damage has a chance to increase your versatility proc. I think that is absolutely insane. For only 35 corruption, I can get 800 versatility right there, which is like so much more percent right there. That can bring you up to around 25% if you're playing around 18. You can get so much more versatility right there and remember with versatility, you're getting a damage increase and you're also decreasing your damage taken. So you're going to have a harder time. They're going to have a harder time killing you, and you're going to have a better time doing damage because everything will be buffed right there. And also right now I'm playing a Haste Mastery offhand, which has the opportunity to give me 1,275 haste for 4 seconds. Now, the 4 seconds is not that long. However, this uptime is very, very good. Same with this versatility proc. I have noticed in arenas anywhere ranging from 1 minute to 5 minutes to 10 minutes, roughly the procs, and I mean both of them, are procking around 30 to 50% of the game, which I think is an absolutely huge number. And you're getting so much value off of them. And I think it's just very, very helpful when they proc. When this haste procs, you could get a quick GPI. You could get a 3-second GPI. You could get a 1-second poly maybe. You could get a quick ring. Your globals are going to be cooking quicker. You're going to have like you're going to have so many opportunities playing a haste proc. And potentially if that versatility procs when you're in a kidney smoke bomb and you can't get out and you're almost dead, that could proc and save your life just then and there. You might just become tanky enough to live through their damage. So that's why I think that right now for corruption, the versatility and haste procs are really good. As well, if you could get a stat 12% haste or a 12% versatility, those are also really, really good just to bring your baseline up. So you can, and then I can also, so right now I've been playing 1 versatility, 1 haste. However, like I could swap out for 2 haste procs and have, really quick, really quick, like cast, or I can play double versatility proc and take like negative damage. Because of the fact how they work, when one procs, the other will proc for each stat. So if I have haste 1 procs, a versatility 1 will not proc at the same time. However, if you have 2 haste ones, they will guaranteed proc at the same time every time. So if you have 2 1275 haste, you can actually get them to proc this at the same time, so you can get double that pretty much. If you have 2 801 versatilities, you can get 1602 for 20 seconds. Like I said, they have about a 30 to 50% uptime during any given arena, which I think is like really, really good and really strong. So like I said, definitely up to you guys and what the game gives you as corruption. I haven't tried Void Ritual out too much. I feel like it could be good, but I'm not quite sure. But yeah, versatility, haste, whatever you can get there, I think those are really, really strong in current meta right now, especially for 2s or 3s. And yeah, it's pretty much all I have for corruption. Now we can go ahead and talk about our talents and PvP talents section. So first off here, I'm going to go ahead and go over our basic talents. I'm going to explain what they do, why I choose to use them, why I think they're good. First off, at level 15, we're going to start off with Searing Touch. I really like Searing Touch because at below 30%, you're getting that huge damage increase on Scorch, and you're going to be able to proc a guaranteed crit, which will definitely help you finish off those targets that are low. You can double Scorch, and it'll crit twice, guaranteed. You can Pyroblast off that, and you can get, anywhere from 10k damage, and then you have your Pyroblast instacast right there as well. Just extra damage right there to try and help you finish off your target, take them out. I don't think Fire Starter is very, super viable because I don't see a world where you're hard casting Pyroblast when you could be casting Greater Pyroblast at the same time. And Fireball is, again, not a great ability unless you're playing Short Combust with Fireball spec. However, I don't see your target being above 90% health for that long to give you that extra crit all the time. I definitely think the Scorch below 30% is really good to fish for your hot streaks and to do extra damage there. Next up for level 30, Shimmer is a really, really insane ability, replacing Blink and giving you 2 charges essentially. Now with Shimmer, what you can actually do is you can cook a spell and then blink around. You can actually blink while casting the spell, whatever it is. Blink around, turn around, whatever, and you'll be able to get that ability off without having to stop casting it. It's really cool when you want to blink in. They line you, and you're trying to cast a Greater Pyro. You could blink around the corner as the Greater Pyro is still casting and connect it. That could be really insane. There's also things like casting a Polymorph, casting a Ring of Frost, some sort of control. You can really make great plays with Shimmer if you're doing it correctly. And giving you 2 charges with a 20-second recharge. Pretty insane. Unaffected by the greater cooldown or the global cooldown as well. I just think this talent is too good to not have. Blast Wave I don't think is just that worth it. And Blazing Soul again. A barrier is cool and all, but with the barrier nerfs, it's not worth it at all. Shimmer is too good of an ability, too good of a talent, and that's what I go with for level 30. Alright, now for 45, this one's a pretty simple one. You're going to want to grab Incanter's Flow. Basically, your spell damage will rise up from 4% to 20% and back down. You're gonna get damage increase no matter what, at all times. You're gonna get it no matter what. It could be 20%, it could be 4%. Mirror Image is not worth it. It does not do any damage. The damage is very minuscule, and you're not gonna fool anybody with your mirror images at all, right? Rune of Power I don't think is good because it is nerfed in PvP. You have to cast it, you could get kicked on it, and then the 40-second recharge I think is just not really viable. And you have to stand there too. If you get boxed out of your Rune of Power, it's worthless. You can't do anything with it. So again, I don't think anything is worth it. Incanter's Flow is your best bet. You're always going to get a little bit of magic damage. You could get a lot, could get a little. At least you're going to have some. Next up, for level 60, we're going to go ahead and talk about Flame On, actually, sorry. Flame On, I think, is really insane, especially with the Lucid Dream build, because you're going to get a reduced cooldown on Fire Blast by 2 seconds, and you're going to get 1 more charge. Typically, if you didn't take Flame On, you would only have 2 charges of Fire Blast, and they'd be on 10-second cooldowns. While on using Flame On, you have 3 with an 8-second cooldown on each, which is really, really good. And you can really get those, insta-cast out, because you can fish for hot streaks with them. Dragon's Breath, or Alexstrasza Fury. Dragon's Breath always crits and contributes to hot streak. I think that's okay. However, I just don't think it gives the value that Flame On really does. Same with Phoenix Flames. I don't think they're terrible. These talents are definitely not terrible at all, but I don't think they provide the value that that Flame On actually does at this tier. So that's why I go with Flame On. For 75, going to talk about Ring of Frost. Now, this one is definitely more of a controlled one and control oriented. Doesn't really do any damage. However, frenetic speed I think is good, but not good enough. You're getting a 30-second movement speed increase while casting Scorch. That's great and all. And you're going to be able to move a little quicker. Ice Ward, maybe you could potentially play this if you're looking to kite around all game. But ideally, Ring of Frost, I think, is just the best thing. You get the ring, you cast it on the ground, whoever walks into it, or you catch people into it, can be caught. If you can't poly somebody, say they're a druid, a resto druid in form, you can Ring of Frost and it will still catch them actually. Like a poly will, same DR there. You can always do the DB Ring of Frost combo onto a target to make sure you land the ring. So, like I said, I think Ring of Frost is really good. It gives you another ability to cast another school to get kicked on in case they want to kick you, whatever. Next up for level 90, this tier is absolutely worthless. Every single thing in here is terrible and very, very bad. Level 90 had the worst talents possibly ever for Fire Mage. And I chose Living Bomb for one purpose and one purpose only. You can use it to keep people in combat. If it is a rogue and they have no dots on them and they're trying to get a re-stealth, you can hit them with this. It'll keep them dotted for a little bit. That is pretty much it. It might spread. It's not going to do any damage. If we look at this tooltip, it's 5,000 damage. That is terrible. The damage breakdown on that is terrible. Conflagration, you don't ever want to play this because it does have a chance to break CC on a target or a target nearby. If it flares up, and it could break a poly or something very important, so you don't want to play Conflagration. Flame Patch just isn't even worth it either. People are not going to stand in it, and it doesn't really do that much damage. 8k over 8 seconds, it's not even worth, like, it is not worth it at all. Next up, level 100, I go with Meteor. The other two are okay, but you're not going to hardcast a Pyroblast, like I said. I don't think that's good. And Kindling, maybe if you wanted to play, like, Short Combust. But I really, really don't think, even then, I still think Meteor is strong. When you can throw a Meteor every 45 seconds, and it can be 50, it can go from 50k, it could crit, to even, 100k, and doing, just doing huge damage. I do not think that anything else in that tier is better at all. So yeah, that's going to go ahead and finish up our talents. We're going to go ahead and talk about our PvP talents now. First off, since I'm playing Orc, I'm playing a Gladiator Medallion. However, if you are playing Human, you could potentially play Relentless and then have your Every Man for Yourself Trinket, pretty much to remove any stun. But I'm not playing Human, so I actually you can't really play Relentless as anything else, or you're going to die as a mage. So that's why I choose the Gladiator Medallion. You never want to play Adaptation. Terrible, 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 terrible. Don't play it. First up, for the PvP talent, I have Greater Pyroblast on right now. I think, like I said, Greater Pyroblast is absolutely insane. You have a 3.6 second cast, 35%, up to 35% of their total health and fire damage. That would be huge. Hit the dummy for 180k. Those are huge right there. You can chain a few, get kicks on them, whatever. Pretty good. Next up, we have Temporal Shield. You need Temporal Shield. You're going to need to have it every arena, every battleground. This PvP talent is the best PvP talent you could ever have. It is your best friend. Unless you're playing Conflict and you don't need it, play Temporal Shield every game. Temporal Shield will save lives. If you pre-temp a stun on you, if you pre-temporal, huge damage, pre-temporal combustion, whatever, vendetta, whatever, spine eruption, 100% of all damage taken will come back to your health bar. That is insane. They could cauterize you. They could take you down to no HP and kill you. You temp it all back in 4 seconds. Insane ability. Next up, we'll talk about Flame Cannon. I think Flame Cannon is just overall good. Stand still, you get health, damage, and range. Really good. Yep, up to 50%. You can get up to 15%. 15%, 15 yards, 15% increased damage, and 15% increased health. All you have to do is stand there in combat. I think it's really good for your typical matchup. And then I'll go ahead and go over the other talents here and what they're useful for. Netherwind Armor, I think, is really good into something like Jungle Cleave, where they're going to be critting a lot. They're going to be trying to, bite you, hit big crits. This will reduce the chance you suffer a crit by 50%. Pretty good. Maybe like a Warrior too. I'm not sure. Kind of preference there. Depends if you want to play it. We have Tinder here. I think Tinder is really good if you're playing Fireball spec and you want to cast a lot of fireballs. However, 8 seconds is kind of a long time, so not quite sure if it's worth it. You're going to have a free fireball every game at the start, but pretty much other than that, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get too much value out of Tinder. Never use World in Flames unless you're BGing. Not worth it. Flame Strike is not that good in Arena. Controlled Burn is definitely interesting. You can play it potentially to have a really quick kill window, because your Ignite tick will be actually ticking extremely quickly, but it won't actually spread unless you have Combustion up. So if you want to do huge damage here and you want to get that Ignite tick out really, really quick, Controlled Burn is probably what you want to play. I don't personally play it too much. I don't think it's that great. Fire Starter, again, if you're playing Fireball build, this is the really good one that you want to play. Your fireball reducing the cooldown of your combustion by 5 seconds. So you can chain cast a ton of fireballs to get your combustion back. I've gotten it back in like 38 seconds, I think, before, because I just trained fireballs into an opponent. And they don't typically kick fireball because it doesn't matter. And you're getting your combust back, and then you're going to be ready for a go again. Prismatic Cloak, I think, is really good if you're going into a spell cleave, like Mage Lock, because after you shimmer, you take 50% less magical damage. If you see they're casting a Chaos Bolt on you, you have no way to line, there is no line in sight, you can shimmer, and that Chaos Bolt will be 50% less strong as it was. So if it was doing 100k, it would only be hitting you for 50k, which is really, really good and could save lives. So that's why you run Prismatic. Dampen Magic is for things like dampen comps, like anything with the Shadow Priest, or an Unholy DK like Shadow Priest, Unholy DK or something. Afflock, this was really good against Afflock, but Affliction Warlock is not really a thing anymore, unfortunately. But anything with dots that you think will go to late game that might kill you, Dampen Magic is really good. And finally, Kleptomania. Now, Kleptomania is really interesting talent. Instead of having to spell steal 5 times to get the one thing you want, gives you a 30-second cooldown and will take everything. I think Klepto is an insane ability. Playing as a mage, queuing into any Resto Druid, I think Kleptomania is really good. Being able to take all their hots away from them and they'll lose all their healing, I think, is really strong. If you're potentially playing into another mage, you could run Kleptomania. There are a lot of different scenarios where you can run it, but it really depends on how you play and how you react to their gameplay. If you want to play Klepto, you can. Something, you don't want to play it into melee cleave with like a pally or something. It's not really worth it there. But any druid team, potentially a mage team, if you're playing with the druid and they have a mage on their team, potentially play it because you can counter Klepto, their Klepto. That could be really strong and important. So, yeah, pretty much that there. And yeah, that is pretty much all we have for our talent section right there. Next up, we'll go ahead and chat about our arena comps, what I like to play, what I think is good, what I recommend for you guys to play starting out. So for 2v2 arena, I'm going to give a few rundowns of what I think is really strong, how to win, what's your win condition, how to play it well. I'll go over the classic Rogue Mage first. Rogue Mage is really strong. You can typically win an opener, especially if you're at low rating. You can open on healers, open on DPS, whatever you want. Having the ability to get a full sap on somebody and to potentially a half sheep off. You could get that half polymorph off your blind. You could be doing huge damage. They've got that full kidney shot lockdown while you're able to do big combustion damage. I think is really insane. And, you always have the ability to blind and then poly off that. They don't share DR. Really just that comp is, if you have good synergy with your rogue, you'll be looking pretty good if you can, do it well. And that's, I think, one of the only like double DPS with mage that work extremely well, up to pretty relatively high rating. And that's pretty much it for that. And then we could talk about some healer mage. Good healer mage right now. Fire Mage Holy Priest, Fire Mage Holy Pally, Fire Mage Resto Druid. Now the reason these all three are good is because you have they all can have a stun, whether it be a bash, rake stun, hammer of justice, or they have Holy Word Chastise. They all these healers do have stuns and typically as a mage that's what you're gonna want. You're gonna want them locked down while you're trying to either get a GPI off or get your combustion window off. So that is really helpful too. Holy Priest, you can't really play super offensive with it, but they can also cast Greater Heal, while you can cast Greater Pyro, so they're forced to kick one of the two, whatever it is. And then you have Holy Pally and Resto Druid that are both, they can do damage. Holy Pally can play Avenging Crusader, do melee wings, and do damage there, while the Druid can play Feral Affinity, and they can, rake stun, they can do their damage too, they can be, on the aggressive, pretty much. So, that's pretty ideal there, as what you really want to do. is get one of those healers, queue it up, or you can play Rogue Mage. That's what I think is the best of the best in the 2v2 arena. Now, the 3v3 arena, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a few. Personally, my favorite is Mage Lock Druid, or MLD. This is pretty much the same concept. If they go you cast Greater Pyros, then your lock gets the free cast Chaos Bolt. If they go the lock, then you get the free cast Greater Pyro. Pretty much you can set up in a casting triangle. You can pretty much just turtle up and do damage, and then have your druid heal you. When you need to get a drink, you guys can peel. You have good peeling with Fear and Polys. You have big damage with Dark Soul, Infernal, Combustion. Huge damage there. Get a lot of synergy. You can really go pretty far with MLD. It's a really strong comp right now, I think. Next up, I also play Rogue Mage X. Whether the healer is a Holy Pally, a Disciplined Priest, a Monk, whatever. This comp can pretty much be played with a good amount of any healers, Rusted Druid even. I think Rogue Mage right now is in a really insane spot. They can do huge setups, huge damage, huge goes, and it is just crazy what you can do with Rogue Mage. Having the control and the amount of damage is absolutely insane, I think. And it is really, really strong for that reason. And so those are pretty much two of my favorite comps in the arena. There is some other stuff that we're going to talk about later on in some other videos, but I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll have some more content out. This is the basic 8.3 guide. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on my stream, on my Discord, whatever. First video here, so we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for watching, and peace out.